My family handed my house to my sister. They didn't know it was already gone. The text message sat on Maya's phone screen like a verdict already passed. Her mother's words were casual, almost cheerful. We've decided Lily and James can move into your house next month. It's perfect timing since you travel so much for work anyway. Family helps family. Maya read it twice, then 3 times. There was no question mark. No, what do you think? No acknowledgement that the house in question had been purchased with Maya's own savings, her own mortgage, her own name on every document. Just a decision, made without her, announced like a weather forecast. She set the phone down on her kitchen counter, the granite countertop she'd chosen herself, paid for herself, installed herself, and looked around the home she'd built over 7 years of careful planning. 2 weeks later, her family would arrive with moving trucks. They would find an empty driveway and a lock that no longer recognized their keys. Maya had always been the one who showed up. When her father's business collapsed 6 years ago, she'd co-signed a loan. When her younger sister Lily needed a place to stay after college, Maya had opened her guest room for 9 months. When family gatherings needed organizing, her mother simply texted Maya the date and expected her to handle everything else. She was 34, unmarried, and worked in corporate consulting, a job that required frequent travel, but paid well enough for her to own a modest 3-bedroom house in a quiet suburb. Her family saw the travel as proof she didn't really need the house. They saw her lack of husband and children as evidence the space was wasted. They saw her financial stability as a resource that belonged to all of them. What they never saw was the silence in Maya's eyes when they made their plans. She had learned over the years that arguing only delayed the inevitable. So she stopped arguing, and she started planning. The pattern had established itself so gradually that no one in the family remembered when it started. Maya's mother, Patricia, had a particular way of framing requests that made them sound like established facts. "You'll pick up Dad from the airport Thursday," wasn't a question. It was narrated as though Maya had already agreed days ago. Correcting her felt petty, like arguing over something already settled. Her father, Robert, had a different approach. He simply assumed Maya's resources were extensions of his own. When his car needed expensive repairs, he'd mentioned it casually over Sunday dinner, and Maya had found herself offering to cover half before the meal ended. When he'd mentioned property taxes on the family cabin, she'd quietly transferred funds without being directly asked. It wasn't manipulation in the traditional sense. It was something more insidious. They genuinely believed Maya existed to serve as the family's financial and logistical safety net. And then there was Lily. At 28, Lily had floated through a series of creative pursuits: photography, graphic design, artisanal jewelry, each funded partially by parental support and partially by Maya's loans that everyone understood would never be repaid. Lily had a lightness about her, a charm that made people want to help. She'd recently married James, a friendly but chronically underemployed musician who taught guitar lessons 3 days a week. Patricia and Robert adored James. They praised his authenticity, his rejection of corporate greed, his artistic soul. When Maya pointed out that authentic souls still needed to pay rent, her mother had smiled tolerantly. "Not everyone measures success in money, dear." The irony of saying this to the daughter who'd been funding family emergencies for half a decade was lost on Patricia entirely. The house conversation had started 3 months before the text message. Maya had been visiting for Sunday dinner, a tradition she'd maintained despite living 40 minutes away, when Lily mentioned that her landlord was selling the duplex she and James rented. "It's such bad timing," Lily had said, pushing pasta around her plate. "We finally got settled, you know, and now we have to move again." Patricia had made sympathetic noises. Robert had frowned into his wine. Maya had said nothing. "The rental market is impossible right now," James added. "Everything decent is twice what we're paying now." "Have you looked at other neighborhoods?" Maya asked. Lily had wrinkled her nose. "We love our area. All our friends are there." The conversation had moved on. Maya thought it was finished. She should have known better. 2 weeks later, Patricia called while Maya was between meetings. "I've been thinking about Lily's housing situation," her mother began. Maya put her phone on speaker and continued reviewing her presentation slides. You know, you travel almost every other week for work. That beautiful house of yours sits empty so much of the time." Maya's hands stilled on her keyboard. "It seems wasteful, really. All that space. And Lily and James are crammed into that tiny duplex." "Lily and James are adults with jobs," Maya said carefully. They can find a place that fits their budget. Family helps family, Patricia said, using the phrase that had become her universal justification for asking Maya to give more while others gave less. I'm not saying permanently, just until they get on their feet. Maybe a year or two. Maya had learned what a year or two meant in family vocabulary. It meant indefinitely. I'll think about it, Maya said. Thank you, sweetheart. I knew you'd understand. Maya hadn't agreed to anything, but Patricia had heard what she wanted to hear. Over the following weeks, the requests became assumptions. Patricia mentioned during a phone call that she'd told Lily to start packing non-essential items. Robert asked Maya if her guest room furniture could be moved to the basement to make space for James's music equipment. Maya responded to none of these comments directly. She made vague sounds of acknowledgement and changed subjects. She had learned that direct refusal triggered exhausting conversations where her family performed confusion and hurt until she backed down. They would ask why she was being selfish. They would remind her of everything they'd done for her growing up. They would suggest she was bitter about being single while Lily had found love. The accusations were nonsense, but defending herself only fed the cycle. So Maya stopped defending. She just watched. She watched her mother text Lily about paint colors for the bedrooms in her new place. She watched her father offer to help move furniture when the time comes. She watched Lily post on social media about being excited for a new chapter. None of them had asked Maya directly if they could move in. They had simply decided among themselves that it would happen. The actual text message arrived on a Thursday afternoon. Maya was in a hotel in Denver, finishing a consulting project for a manufacturing client. She read her mother's message 3 times, each reading making the situation clearer. We've decided Lily and James can move into your house next month. Not, can we discuss? Not, would you consider? Not, what do you think? Decided. Maya set her phone down and stared at the generic hotel art on the wall, a watercolor of aspen trees that probably existed in 10,000 identical rooms across the country. She felt something cold and clear settle in her chest. Not anger, not hurt. Something closer to relief. For years, she'd felt guilty for resenting her family's assumptions. She'd wondered if she was being unfair, if she was measuring their love in transactional terms, if she was failing to be generous. That text message answered everything. Her family didn't see her as a person with boundaries to respect. They saw her as a resource to allocate. Maya opened her laptop and began a different kind of planning. She contacted a real estate agent she'd worked with before. She inquired about property management companies. She reviewed her mortgage documents and consulted her financial advisor. She did all of this calmly, methodically, while responding to work emails and attending client meetings. When she returned home that weekend, everything looked exactly the same. Her furniture, her photographs, her carefully organized kitchen. But something fundamental had shifted. She walked through each room as though cataloging items for an inventory. She opened closets and considered what would need to be packed. She stood in her backyard and watched the neighbor's cat hunt through the garden beds she'd planted. On Monday, she called the real estate agent back. "I'd like to list the house," Maya said, "but I need it done quietly. No yard sign, no open houses. Online listing only. Limited photos. And I want it marked as coming soon for 2 weeks before going active." The agent asked if there was a problem. "No problem," Maya said. "Just prefer privacy." She gave the same explanation to the property lawyer she hired, the moving company she scheduled, and the storage facility where she rented a unit. Privacy, preference, personal reasons. No one needed to know that she was erasing herself from her family's plans before they could execute them. The house sold in 12 days to a couple relocating for work. They paid asking price and wanted to close in 3 weeks. Maya accepted immediately. She told no one. During Sunday dinner that week, Lily showed Maya paint swatches on her phone. "What do you think for the main bedroom?" Lily asked. "I'm leaning toward this soft sage, but James likes the grey." Maya looked at the colors. "The sage is nice." "I'm so excited," Lily said. "It'll be like living together again, but this time I'm married and you're never home anyway, so we'll basically have the place to ourselves." Patricia laughed. "It's perfect, really. Maya's too responsible to let the house sit empty, and you two get more space. Everyone wins." Maya ate her mother's pot roast and said nothing. That night she packed her first box. The closing was scheduled for a Friday morning. Maya took the day off work, claiming a personal appointment. She met the buyers and their agent at the title company. The couple was in their early 30s, friendly and excited. They asked if Maya had been happy in the house. "Very," Maya said. I hope you will be too. The paperwork took an hour. Signatures, initials, disclosures. The transfer of ownership from one name to two others. When it finished, Maya shook hands with the buyers and wished them well. She walked out of the title company with a check for her equity and no forwarding address listed on any documents. The buyers wouldn't take possession for another 2 weeks, standard closing timeline, which gave Maya time to finish moving without triggering her family's attention. She'd already rented an apartment across town, a modern 2-bedroom in a building with security access and no guest parking. She'd chosen it specifically for its inconvenience to visitors. Over the next 10 days, Maya moved in stages. She hired movers for the furniture but packed personal items herself. Each evening after work, she loaded her car with boxes and drove them to her new apartment. She worked systematically. Books first, then clothes, then kitchen items, then everything else. Her family didn't notice. Why would they? They'd never visited unannounced. They had no sense of her daily routines. They believed they knew her schedule and assumed she was working when she didn't answer calls immediately. Patricia texted twice during that week. Once to ask if Maya could pick up a prescription for her father. Once to share a funny meme. Maya responded to both with brief, pleasant messages. On the second Sunday, 1 week before Lily and James planned to move in, Maya attended family dinner as usual. Lily dominated the conversation, talking about the furniture she'd bought from a Facebook marketplace seller. James showed everyone photos of the music corner he planned to set up in the spare bedroom. "We're thinking of getting a dog," Lily announced, "now that we'll have a yard." "That'll be nice," Maya said. Patricia beamed. "I can't wait to visit you both. It'll be so much easier than driving all the way to your old duplex." "We should do Sunday dinners at the new place sometimes," Robert suggested. "Give Patricia a break from hosting." Lily looked at Maya. "Would you mind?" Maya smiled. "Do what works for you." It wasn't permission. It wasn't refusal. It was the kind of non-answer she'd become expert in delivering. After dinner, Maya helped her mother load the dishwasher as she always did. "You've been quiet lately," Patricia said. "Everything okay at work?" "Just busy," Maya said. "Well, don't work too hard. You should enjoy your life like Lily. She's finally found balance, you know. She's learned that happiness matters more than money." Maya dried a wine glass carefully. "Balance is important." "Exactly. I'm glad you're finally seeing that. Letting Lily and James use the house while you're traveling, it's a more generous way of thinking, very mature of you." Maya placed the glass in the cabinet and said nothing. She left that night knowing it was the last Sunday dinner she'd attend for a very long time. The final pieces came together quickly after that. She changed her mailing address to a P.O. box. She updated her emergency contacts at work. She notified her utilities to transfer service to the new owners as of the possession date. She packed the last boxes on a Wednesday evening. The house was empty, except for the furniture that would convey with the sale, items she'd already replaced in her new apartment. She walked through the empty rooms one last time. This was the first place she'd owned, the first space that had been entirely hers, chosen by her, funded by her work, and her family had treated it as common property to redistribute as they saw fit. Maya turned off the lights and locked the door behind her. She dropped the keys in the mail to the title company the next morning. On Thursday afternoon, Lily texted, "Can we come by Saturday to start moving some boxes in? Just small stuff before the big move next week?" Maya was in a meeting. She looked at the message for a long moment, then replied, "This weekend doesn't work for me." Lily responded immediately, "Oh, come on, we'll be quick. Just want to get started. We're so excited." Maya didn't reply. Lily sent 3 more messages over the next hour. Then Patricia called. Maya was still in meetings. She let it go to voicemail. The voicemail was Patricia's hurt voice, asking why Maya was being difficult about something she'd already agreed to. Maya deleted it without responding. That evening, her father called. She answered this time, sitting in her new apartment surrounded by boxes she was still unpacking. "Maya, your mother is upset," Robert said. "Lily just wants to drop off a few things. Why are you making this complicated?" "I'm not making anything complicated," Maya said calmly. "Then why won't you let them come by?" "I never said they could move in," Maya said. There was a pause. "What are you talking about?" "Your mother discussed this with you weeks ago." "Mom told me her plans," Maya corrected. "She didn't ask my permission, neither did you, neither did Lily. This is family, Maya. We don't need formal permission to help each other." "Then you won't need my permission to find a different solution." "What's gotten into you?" Her father's voice sharpened. "You've never been this selfish." Maya looked around her new living room. She'd already hung 2 pieces of art. Her coffee maker sat on the kitchen counter, ready for tomorrow morning. "I have to go," she said. "I have work to finish." "Maya," she ended the call. Her phone lit up immediately with texts from her mother, her sister, her father. She silenced it and ordered takeout. The messages continued throughout the evening. They escalated from confusion to frustration to accusation. "Patricia, I don't understand why you're being like this. We're family." Lily, "Did I do something wrong? Please talk to me." Robert, "Your mother is crying. I hope you're happy." James, "Hey, I think there's been a misunderstanding. Can we chat?" Patricia again, "After everything we've done for you, after we raised you, supported you, loved you." Maya read them all. She responded to none. She unpacked 3 more boxes, assembled a bookshelf and organized her bathroom cabinets. At 11 p.m., her phone finally went quiet. She made tea and sat on her new couch in an apartment no one in her family knew existed. Tomorrow was Friday. The day after was Saturday, the day Lily and James had planned to start moving in. Maya wondered how long it would take them to realize something was wrong. She didn't have to wonder long. Saturday morning arrived with rain. Maya woke in her new apartment to the sound of water against unfamiliar windows. She made coffee and checked her phone. 17 missed calls, 34 text messages. She scrolled through them without opening any. The messages had started at 7 a.m., Lily asking if Maya was awake, then asking if she was home, then saying they were on their way. At 8:47 a.m., Lily had texted, "We're here, but your car isn't in the driveway." At 9:02 a.m., "Are you on your way back?" At 9:15 a.m., "Maya, seriously, where are you?" At 9:33 a.m., "Why isn't our key working?" Maya set her phone face down on the counter and drank her coffee. She had changed the locks 4 days earlier, right before closing. It was standard procedure when selling a house. Her family had simply never known there was a reason for the locks to be changed. The messages continued throughout the morning. Lily's confusion turned to frustration. Patricia's texts arrived, concerned at first, then irritated. James sent a reasonable message asking if there was a problem with the locks and offering to call a locksmith. At 10:47 a.m. Robert called. Maya answered. She was dressed now, sitting by her window, watching rain fall on a parking lot her family had never seen. "Where are you?" her father asked without preamble. "Lily and James are standing in your driveway in the rain." "They should probably leave then," Maya said. "Maya, what the hell is going on?" "They're trespassing," Maya said calmly. "That property doesn't belong to me anymore." Silence. Then, "What are you talking about?" "I sold the house. It closed last week. The new owners take possession on Monday." The silence extended longer this time. "You sold it?" Her father's voice was flat. "Yes, without telling anyone. It was my house to sell." "Your sister was supposed to move in next week." "No," Maya corrected. "You decided she would move in next week, without asking me, without considering that I might have other plans for my own property." "This is insane," Robert's voice rose. "You're seriously telling me you sold your house out of spite?" "Not spite," Maya said. "Necessity. You were going to move people into my house whether I agreed or not. So I removed the option." "We're your family." "Yes," Maya said. "You are." She let the words sit there, unqualified by explanation or apology. "Your mother is going to be devastated," Robert said. "Mom will be disappointed that her plan didn't work," Maya said. "That's not the same thing." "Where the hell is Lily supposed to live?" "The same place she would have lived if I'd never bought a house," Maya said. "Somewhere she and James can afford on their own income." "You know they can't afford anything decent." "Then James needs a better job. Or Lily needs to choose work that pays. Or they need to live somewhere less expensive. Those are normal adult problems with normal adult solutions." "You sound like a stranger right now." "I sound like someone setting boundaries," Maya said. "You're just not used to hearing it." Robert was quiet for a moment, then, "Where are you?" "That's not your concern." "Maya, I have to go," she said. "Tell Lily and James to leave the property. The new owners have been very generous about timing, and I won't have them arriving Monday to find uninvited people in the driveway." She ended the call. Her hands were steady. She'd expected to feel something dramatic, anger, or triumph, or grief. Instead, she felt something simpler, relief that it was finally happening, that the confrontation she'd been avoiding for years was finally forcing itself into existence, and she was meeting it from a position she'd chosen rather than one forced upon her. The phone calls continued all day. Patricia called 6 times. Lily called 8. James called twice, leaving voicemails that were respectful and confused, asking if they could please just talk. Maya listened to none of them. She spent the day finishing her unpacking. She assembled furniture. She hung curtains. She programmed the security system in her new building with entry codes that only she knew. By evening, the texts had taken on a different tone. Patricia, I didn't raise you to be cruel. Lily, I can't believe you'd do this to me, to us. Robert, your mother is heartbroken. I hope you can live with yourself. Maya read them while eating dinner at her new dining table. She'd ordered the table online, simple oak, seats 4. Her old table had been larger, meant for family gatherings she'd hosted for years. This one was sized for her life, not theirs. At 8 p.m., her doorbell rang. Maya's new building required security clearance to access the lobby, which meant whoever was at her door had either been buzzed in by another resident or worked for the building. She checked the peephole. Patricia stood in the hallway, soaked from rain, her face blotchy with tears. Maya took a breath and opened the door. How did you find me? Maya asked. I called your work, Patricia said. Told them it was an emergency and I needed to reach you. They gave me your new address. Maya made a mental note to have a conversation with HR about privacy policies. You shouldn't be here, Maya said. You're my daughter, Patricia said, as though this trumped all boundaries. We need to talk. No, we don't. Maya, please. Patricia's voice cracked. I don't understand what's happening. Why are you being like this? I'm not being anyway, Maya said. I'm simply declining to let my family move people into my house without my permission. But we thought... You thought wrong, Maya interrupted. You assumed I would go along with whatever you decided because I always have. You didn't ask what I wanted. You didn't consider my feelings. You just made plans and expected me to comply. That's not fair. It's completely fair, Maya said, her voice level. And it's done. The house is sold. Lily and James need to find somewhere else to live. That's the end of it. Patricia stared at her. When did you become so cold? I'm not cold, Maya said. I'm just done. Done with what? With being the person everyone expects to sacrifice what she has so no one else has to try. Patricia's face crumpled. We never asked you to sacrifice. You asked constantly, Maya said. You just called it family. You called it responsibility. You called it being the older sister, the successful one, the one who had enough. We love you. I know, Maya said, and she meant it. But you love me like I'm a resource, not a person. That's not true. Maya looked at her mother standing in the hallway of a building she'd had to hunt down, still believing she had the right to show up unannounced and demand explanations. Go home, Maya said quietly. Tell Lily I wish her well finding a place. Tell Dad I'm fine. Tell yourself whatever you need to tell yourself. Maya, go home, Maya repeated, and closed the door. She heard her mother stand outside for a full minute before footsteps finally moved away down the hall. Maya locked the door, the new lock her family couldn't bypass, and leaned against it. Her phone buzzed with new messages. She turned it off entirely. Maya didn't hear from her family for 3 days. She worked, she unpacked. She established routines in her new space. She went to the gym in her building. She discovered a coffee shop 2 blocks away that made excellent lattes. She video called with friends who lived in other cities, friendships she'd maintained carefully over the years, relationships that had nothing to do with family obligation. On Tuesday evening, her phone, which she'd turned back on for work purposes, rang with a number she didn't recognize. She answered cautiously. Maya, a woman's voice, older, slightly formal. This is Eleanor, your aunt, Maya's father's older sister. They'd met perhaps a dozen times in Maya's life. Eleanor lived in Portland and rarely attended family gatherings. Hi, Maya said carefully. I'm calling because your mother reached out to me, Eleanor said. She's very upset. She says you've cut off the family over some misunderstanding about your house. It wasn't a misunderstanding, Maya said. She says you sold your house to spite your sister. I sold my house because my family decided, without asking me, to move my sister into it. I removed myself from a situation where my boundaries weren't being respected. Silence on the line. Then Eleanor laughed, short and sharp. Good for you, Maya blinked. What? I said good for you. Your mother has been pulling that routine for 40 years, deciding what everyone else should do and then acting wounded when they don't comply. I moved to Portland partially to get away from it. I didn't know that, Maya said slowly. Of course you didn't. Patricia doesn't tell people when family members establish boundaries. She tells people when family members are being difficult. Eleanor paused. She asked me to call and convince you to reconsider, to give Lily the house. I can't give Lily a house I no longer own. Yes, I gathered that from the hysterical phone call. I told Patricia I'd reach out, which technically I'm doing, but not for the reasons she thinks. Eleanor's voice softened. I'm calling to tell you that what you did was exactly right. It was the only way to stop them from simply overriding your decisions forever. Maya felt something loosen in her chest. Thank you. Don't thank me. I should have warned you years ago what happens in this family to the competent children. We become infrastructure. We become the people everyone else leans on without asking if we can bear the weight. Eleanor paused. What's your new address? I'd like to send you something. Maya hesitated, then gave it. Good, Eleanor said. And Maya, don't go back. Not to the family dinners, not to the guilt trips, not to any of it. They'll try to wear you down. They'll use love and obligation and history. But you've already done the hard part. You've gotten out. Stay out until they learn to treat you like a person instead of a resource. They spoke for another 10 minutes. Eleanor shared stories Maya had never heard, about her own experiences with Patricia's controlling behavior, about the relief of finally establishing distance, about the family members who never forgave her for choosing her own life. Some of them came around eventually, Eleanor said. The ones who were capable of growth. The others, well, they stayed bitter. And that's their choice to make, not my burden to carry. After they hung up, Maya sat quietly in her living room. She wasn't alone in this. She hadn't been the first person to make this choice. That realization steadied something in her. The next Sunday, what would have been family dinner day, Maya brunch with a colleague from work. They talked about a project, about travel plans, about nothing related to family or obligation. Her phone buzzed multiple times during the meal. She glanced once and saw her mother's name. She silenced it and continued her conversation. That evening, she found a package outside her apartment door. Eleanor had sent a book, a memoir about family estrangement, with a note, in case you need reminder that you're not the villain in this story. Maya made tea and read 3 chapters before bed. On Monday morning, her work phone rang. Maya's personal assistant, the company provided one for consultants at her level, sounded apologetic. I have a Patricia Reed calling. She says she's your mother and it's urgent. I told her you were in meetings, but she's called 4 times. Should I block the number? Maya said. And if anyone claiming to be family calls the work line again, don't put them through. They have my personal number. Understood. Maya finished her coffee and joined her morning video call. That afternoon, HR contacted her. We had someone trying to access your personnel file, the HR representative said, claiming to be your mother and saying she needed to verify your emergency contacts. We denied the request, but I wanted to flag it for you. Thank you, Maya said. If it happens again, please document it as harassment. Of course. And Maya, do you need any support resources? If there's a family situation... I'm fine, Maya said, just establishing boundaries with people who don't respect them. The week continued like that. Attempts at contact that Maya deflected systematically. Lily created a new email address and sent a long message about betrayal and sisterhood. Maya read it once, then archived it without responding. Robert tried calling from a colleague's phone. Maya didn't answer. Patricia sent a card to Maya's P.O. box, a sentimental message about mothers and daughters and forgiveness. Maya recycled it. On Friday, Maya received an email from Lily's husband James. It was different from the others, shorter, more direct. Maya, I get it. I understand why you're upset. They should have asked. But Lily's pregnant. We just found out. We really needed that house, please. Maya read it twice. She felt the pull of it, the implicit guilt, the new information designed to change the equation. Then she closed the email. Lily's pregnancy didn't retroactively give them rights to Maya's property. Need didn't create obligation. Maya had spent years being moved by everyone else's needs, being told that her resources should be available because others had requirements. She was done. She deleted the email. The new owners moved into the house on a Monday. Maya knew because she'd maintained minimal contact with her real estate agent, who sent a courtesy message confirming the transaction was complete. She imagined her family learning about it, perhaps driving by out of denial, finding new cars in the driveway, new curtains in the windows, or perhaps they never drove by at all. Perhaps they simply had to sit with the reality that the house was gone, and no amount of pleading or guilting would bring it back. Maya didn't ask. She didn't check. She went to work. She traveled for a project in Austin. She returned to her apartment and appreciated the silence of space that was entirely hers. 3 weeks after the confrontation, Maya received a letter, not an email, An actual letter, forwarded from her P.O. box by the postal service to her new address through a change of address form she'd filed. Patricia's handwriting on the envelope. Maya almost recycled it, unopened. Then curiosity won. The letter was 3 pages, handwritten, not typed. It started with an apology, or what Patricia considered an apology. "I'm sorry you felt hurt by our plans for the house." Not, "I'm sorry we made plans without consulting you." Not, "I'm sorry we ignored your boundaries." "I'm sorry you felt." The letter continued with explanations about why they'd thought the arrangement made sense, about how much Lily needed help, about how family supports each other, about how Maya had always been so independent that they didn't think she'd mind. The 3rd page shifted to subtle accusations, about how Maya had changed, about how success had made her cold, about how she was punishing Lily for being creative instead of corporate. The letter ended, "I hope someday you'll forgive us for whatever we did that made you so angry. We love you and miss you, Mum." Maya read it once, then set it aside. She didn't respond. 2 days later, Lily sent a Facebook message. Maya had forgotten they were still connected on social media. She rarely used it except for work networking. "I lost the baby," Lily wrote. "Miscarriage at 9 weeks. I needed my sister, and you weren't there. I hope you're happy with your choices." Maya read the message sitting at her kitchen counter. She felt sympathy for the miscarriage. Pregnancy loss was genuinely painful, and she didn't wish that on anyone. But she felt no guilt for not being there. She'd been systematically excluded from her own life decisions by her family for years. She'd been contacted only when they wanted something from her. She'd been remembered only when they needed resources. Now they wanted her to be available for their grief, while still refusing to acknowledge any wrongdoing. Maya sent a brief response. "I'm sorry for your loss." Then she unfollowed Lily's profile, so future posts wouldn't appear in her feed. Lily responded immediately. "That's all you have to say?" Maya didn't reply. April arrived. Then May. Maya settled into her life with increasing contentment. She took up painting, something she'd never had time for when family obligations consumed her weekends. She joined a book club. She started dating someone she'd met through work connections, a man who lived in Seattle and traveled as much as she did, making the long distance feel more like parallel lives, intersecting pleasantly than a hardship. She never mentioned her family situation to him. When he asked about her parents, she said simply, "We're not in contact right now." He nodded and moved on. He didn't pry. In June, Eleanor called again. "Your mother reached out," Eleanor said. "Wanted to know if I'd heard from you. Wanted me to tell you that your father's birthday is coming up and the family is planning a gathering." "Are you going?" Maya asked. "God, no. I haven't attended a family birthday in 15 years. I told Patricia I didn't have your contact information." "Thank you." "She's trying to establish flying monkeys," Eleanor said, using the term for people recruited to pressure someone on behalf of an aggressor. "She'll work through extended family, old family friends, anyone she thinks might have influence. Be prepared." Maya was prepared. Over the following weeks, she received messages from her father's brother, from a cousin she'd seen twice in her adult life, from Patricia's best friend. All variations on the same theme. Family is important. Life is short. Don't let pride keep you apart. Maya responded to none of them. In July, she received a wedding invitation. A cousin on her mother's side, someone she'd played with as a child but hadn't spoken to in years. The invitation was addressed to Maya at her new apartment, which meant someone in the family had gotten her address despite her not providing it. Maya checked her mail forwarding settings. Everything was correct. The invitation must have come through detective work, possibly public records, possibly social media breadcrumbs, possibly something else. She recycled the invitation without RSVPing. 2 days later, Patricia called from yet another new number. Maya answered only because she was tired of wondering if legitimate calls were being masked by her family's attempts at contact. "The wedding is in September," Patricia said without preamble. "The whole family will be there. It's time to stop this nonsense." "I'm not attending," Maya said. "People are going to ask where you are. What am I supposed to tell them?" "Tell them I'm unavailable." "Maya, this conversation is over," Maya said. "Don't call me again." She hung up. Then she blocked the number. Then she blocked every family member's number in her phone. Then she blocked them on social media. Then she changed her email address for personal correspondence and didn't provide it to anyone connected to her family. It felt like closing doors, one after another, systematically, until the house of her old life was sealed shut behind her. She felt lighter each time. Fall arrived with the kind of weather Maya had always loved. Crisp mornings, golden afternoons, evenings cool enough for sweaters. She took a vacation day in mid-October and drove 2 hours north to see autumn leaves. She hiked alone through state park trails, took photographs on her phone and stopped at a small-town diner for lunch. No one knew where she was. No one expected anything from her. No one was texting to ask if she could cover an expense or attend an obligation. She ate pie and watched tourists browsing antique shops across the street. Her phone buzzed once. A work email she'd answer Monday, that was all. In November, she got a promotion. Senior consultant to principal consultant, with a significant raise and the option to choose her projects more selectively. She celebrated with dinner at a nice restaurant with 3 colleagues who'd become genuine friends. They toasted her success, made jokes about corporate life, and split an expensive bottle of wine. No one mentioned family. No one asked why she wasn't celebrating with relatives. They simply celebrated her. That night, returning to her apartment, Maya realized she couldn't remember the last time she'd felt anxious about an unexpected phone call or dreaded an upcoming weekend. The absence of that anxiety had become so normal, she'd stopped noticing it. She'd stopped bracing for impact constantly. She'd stopped waiting for the next request. She'd stopped calculating how much of herself she could afford to give before she had nothing left. She'd simply started living. In December, Eleanor called with an update. Lily and James found a place, Eleanor said. 2-bedroom apartment in a less trendy neighborhood. James got a full-time job teaching at a music school. Patricia tells me they're doing well. Good for them, Maya said, and meant it. Patricia asked if I thought you'd come to Christmas, Eleanor continued. What did you say? I said I doubted it. Then she asked if I'd be coming. Are you? Not a chance. I'm going to Mexico. All-inclusive resort, no family drama. Eleanor paused. You should join me. Maya laughed. Tempting. I'm serious. You'd be welcome. And you're clearly free since you won't be attending family gatherings. Maya considered it. A week on a beach with her aunt who understood boundaries. No guilt, no obligation, no one expecting her to be anything other than herself. I'll think about it, Maya said. Do, Eleanor said. And Maya, I'm proud of you. What you did was hard. Most people can't do it. Thank you. After they hung up, Maya poured tea and sat by her window. Snow was starting to fall, the first of the season, light and tentative. She thought about last Christmas. She'd hosted dinner at her old house, spent 2 days cooking, bought gifts for everyone, cleaned obsessively. Her family had arrived late, left early, and criticized the turkey's dryness. This year she'd be somewhere else, doing something she chose, or possibly on a beach in Mexico with an aunt who understood that love didn't require self-erasure. Maya's phone buzzed, a text from the man she'd been seeing. Coffee tomorrow before your flight? She had a work trip to Boston scheduled. He'd be there the same week for his own meetings. They'd planned to have dinner. She texted back. Yes, 8 a.m. Perfect. Simple. Clear. No hidden expectations. Maya realized that in the 10 months since she'd sold her house, she'd rebuilt her entire life. New home, new routines, new boundaries that people actually respected because she enforced them, and the people who couldn't respect them, even family, simply weren't in her life anymore. She didn't miss the dinners where her accomplishments were minimized. She didn't miss the phone calls that only came when someone needed something. She didn't miss performing gratitude for obligations disguised as love. She missed sometimes the idea of family, the concept of belonging somewhere. But she didn't miss her family as they actually were, and that realization no longer made her sad. In January, Maya received one final letter. Robert's handwriting this time, brief. Your mother's birthday is in March. It would mean a lot to her if you came. You don't have to stay long, just show up, please. Maya read it once. Then she wrote a response, the only direct communication she'd initiated in months. Dad, I understand this is hard for you to accept, but I'm not coming to Mom's birthday. I'm not coming to any family events. This isn't temporary. This isn't me being stubborn or holding a grudge. This is me protecting my peace from people who demonstrated they don't respect my boundaries. If you or Mum or Lily ever want to have a genuine conversation about what happened, not to convince me to come back, but to actually understand why I left, I'm willing to listen. But that would require acknowledging that the way you treated me was wrong. Not just unfortunate or a misunderstanding, wrong. Until then, I'm living my life. I hope you can accept that. Maya. She mailed it. She didn't expect a response that met her conditions, and she didn't receive one. March came. Her mother's birthday passed. Maya spent that weekend at a conference in Chicago, networking with colleagues and attending presentations about strategic consulting. She had dinner with a client who became a friend. She slept in a hotel with thick curtains and complete silence. She woke up and chose exactly how to spend her day. No one asked her for anything she didn't want to give. No one expected her to sacrifice her comfort for their convenience. No one treated her resources as communal property. She was 35 now, single still by choice, successful by any measure, happy in a way that had nothing to do with other people's approval. Her family had tried to take her house. Instead, they'd lost her, and she'd gained herself back. On a quiet Sunday in April, a day that used to mean obligatory family dinners, Maya sat on her apartment balcony with coffee and a book. The sun was warm. The city hummed peacefully below. Her phone sat silent inside. No one was moving into her space uninvited. No one was making decisions about her life without her input. No one was treating her existence as a resource to exploit. She turned the page of her book and kept reading. Somewhere across town, her family might be gathering for dinner, wondering where she was, telling themselves stories about her coldness, her pride, her ingratitude. Let them. Maya was done explaining herself to people who'd never tried to understand. She was done defending boundaries that should never have needed defense. She was done being the responsible one who sacrificed so others could stay comfortable. She was just done. And in that ending, she'd found something better, a beginning that belonged entirely to her.